Hi, everybody. This is Sam Stone with EZRouting, and I have here today with me Tim Ammon and Bob Stone. Bob is my coworker at EZRouting. He's been in routing for about 20 years. I myself have been around school transportation for about 12 years. Most of it's been in telematics, and Tim has been working in pupil transportation since 2001. And I appreciate you coming here and meeting with us today, Tim. We really are very happy to have you. I've got quite a few questions for you. You've been out and meeting with districts, and some things have changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would say, to say the least, right?
So how has that impacted school transportation in general?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the last couple of years have really caused people to focus on two things. The first is how they and their organization can respond to uncertainty, obviously, but underneath that is how the tools and the technologies that they've bought actually allow them to respond to the uncertainty. I think what we have seen over the last 2 years is that we started in, call it March, April, June of 2020, thinking about delivering meals instead of delivering kids. And so how are we going to put routes together for that? And then we transitioned into this idea that we're going to deliver kids, but we're going to deliver some of them on Monday and some of them on Thursday and some of them in the afternoon and some of them in the morning, and all this kind of other AB nonsense that we were doing in response to the virus, which was a real strain for organizations that had tools or technologies that weren't flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went back to what we thought was a normal environment, which was we were going to be taking kids to school every day on sort of regular routes. And that doesn't seem to have been able to come around quite yet, right? So I think from the perspective of what we have learned is we've learned that the requirements and the expectations that for so many years felt like they were stable and felt like they were understood are now no longer stable, nor are they understood. And so the tools that we buy and the things that we're using to respond to them need to be flexible enough, need to be responsive enough for us to be able to move and to react to a new set of requirements on what feels like an hourly basis, but is probably more like daily, weekly kind of changes.
Yeah, you know, Tim, I've been visiting schools for about a decade myself, and I've never. I was on the road last summer, and noticed, like, down in Grand Rapids, Michigan, boy, mechanics just going from one district to another, transportation directors changing positions, people retiring just because. So the Great Resignation. How has that impacted business, Tim?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we are not immune to it. School districts or transportation are not immune to that. And what we're learning from an organizational risk management perspective is people are going to leave. And when they leave, the biggest threat to us may be that they walk out the door with all of the institutional knowledge about how to do something. And in my mind, one of the ways that we manage that is by acquiring tools that we're using that are easy to set up, easy to learn, and easy to use, because it helps. Well, it certainly doesn't devalue the expertise that people bring to us over time. And that's certainly not the case. But what it does do is it insulates us a little bit from the influence and the negative impact that turnover can have. Because I am of the belief that the turnover that we've seen in the last couple of years is not going to go away for the next couple of years. Because when I talk to folks, there is a level of exhaustion and fatigue out there in the industry that I've never seen. And all of the changes and all of the differences that have to occur on an everyday basis. And frankly, I think just the way that people are responding to it and some of the nastiness that is existing out in places has caused a lot of folks to say, you know what, I think I'm going to go do something else. And if that person who goes to do something else is the only person who knows how to use, the routing software or dispatch or GPS or the student information system or whatever it might be, we are in trouble. And so the way to insulate ourselves from that is buy and figure out how to use tools that are easy to use, easy to set up, and easy to integrate into the daily operation.
It used to be when we talked about onboarding that we were really kind of talking about you're purchasing a system. I came from telematics, GPS, right? So you're purchasing the system. When I'm saying onboarding back 5 years ago, I meant I'm going to come out and I'm going to teach you how to do it one time, and you're going to teach everybody around you. And you know, let's face it, routing software is seen as enterprise software. It's you know, student information system and all this stuff feeds into your routing system. And there are companies out there that have, you know, retreats where you go and you spend days and days learning how to do a certain software. Well, if you make that investment and and then that person is gone, they're just gone. And so if your investment was, you know, days and days and days, a 40-hour week just to learn how to operate a system. I mean, that's asking a lot during COVID.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, what COVID has done, I think, is highlight something that and reframe something that the industry has talked about a long time, which is this idea of risk in the industry. And we've always seen that as risk of an accident, right? We've always seen it in terms of on bus interaction with kids kind of a problem.
Yeah,
And I think what we've learned is there's an enormous amount of organizational risk that's been exposed and operational risk that's been exposed that people need to start thinking about and need to start designing their organizations around. And I think, obviously, to your point, the routing software serving as the epicenter of essentially the knowledge of what's happening in a daily basis in the operation has to be designed and has to be functional enough to be able to accommodate that. And so, you know, to me, one of the rationale for thinking about what I'm going to purchase and the criteria that I'm putting into what I'm going to purchase is, does it help me address my operational risk of turnover? Or does it help me address my operational risk of the uncertainty that exists in day-to-day expectations now? And if it doesn't do that, it's not helpful to me.
We were talking about we had a meeting today, and we were talking with the district about opportunity costs, and we're talking about the things like the what if. You know, your what if today is totally different than your what if 5 years ago, because today it's what if we can't get the buses to run? What if we, and what's the impact not just to the district but to the community as well? You know, if the buses don't run, then parents are home. You got to figure out something to do with their students if they don't have transportation to get them to school. So the stakes are so much higher now. And I think, Tim, that really the most important thing when it comes to routing software, or one of the more important things now, is learn how to use it and learn how to use it fast. And for that reason, you know, I'm a newbie. I came from telematics, but when I look at our software, which Bob has up on the screen, to me it reads like a book, left to right, top to bottom. It's very easy to learn. I was routing students myself in a matter of days. You used to do I mean, do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, no, I think ease of use, right? What we always talk about is, how do you shorten the window? How do you shorten the window between my decision to buy something and my ability to use it, right? And what I want to try to do is have something that I can learn quickly, something that I can integrate to my organization as quickly as possible. And that means that I've got to be able to get my core data sets into the product as seamlessly and as simply as possible. And we've used EZRouting, and we know, you know, for example, in our consulting projects, that with a couple of baseline data sets, including, you know, where are the schools, where are the kids, and where are the stops, we can start routing within 24 hours, you know, which is an impressive turnaround time for particularly, you know, for us and the kind of demands that we have doing, you know, 5 or 6 different districts at any given time, and having projects that only run, you know, 90 to 120 days. You know, we've got to be able to turn stuff around, and we've got to be able to learn it quickly. And we've certainly been able to do that. And so I find that to be, from our perspective, really beneficial.
Absolutely. And you know, the other thing too that's really important these days is being able to support the product and get answers to your questions really fast. I know every webinar that I do with Bob, he likes to use our chat feature because like there's somebody just right there on it. You know, it's software that you can't use. You'll never get a return on. You'll just go to, if it's more difficult to use the software than it is to do it outside of the software, people will never use it.
That's exactly right. I think it's really important to know that. And again, I think particularly now, right, we are challenging the products to do more things than they would have had to do in a more stable environment. And so in my mind, what we're end up doing is using deeper functionality in the product than we have. And if we haven't done that a lot, it's really hard to remember how it works. And so having ready access to people who can walk me through, hey guys, remind me again how I set the sandbox up so that I can go in and model these routes, because all of a sudden now it looks like we're going to have these 10 schools that are out of service for the next 5 days, and I've got to redo the routes to accommodate them. Like that kind of responsiveness, I think is not necessarily new in terms of an expectation, but I think in the volume that we're using it is new compared to what has been historically the case.
And you know, you were talking about delivering meals earlier. It's just we just don't know what's coming next. Bob and I, we did a Christmas video where we used our software to route Santa Claus through a town, and it was kind of the idea was to model just that. You know, you never know, and so is the software adaptable. And here in just a second, Bob's going to show us the guide me and a couple of things that are in the system to help us not only onboard, but also moving forward just to the ease of use.
Yep.
So any other words of wisdom before we head to Bob to demo a little bit of the software?
No, I would just offer that I think the evaluating the ability to use the tool in an environment that is as uncertain as it is, to use it quickly and to have it be what is essentially fully a partner of what your organization is trying to do is so crucial right now, because there's so many decisions and so many activities weighing on every operation. The last thing you need weighing on you is trying to figure out whether or not the things you bought are going to answer the questions you're getting.
That's a great point. Thank you so much, Tim, for contributing. We really appreciate you being here
and absolutely
lending us your words of wisdom. Bob, want to go ahead and show us some features in the system?
Certainly. One of the things, Tim, that you mentioned, which I thought was really interesting, was the different things that had to happen. And as you can see here with our custom filters, we had to do different things with the last name, first name. I just call it the alphabet soup thing that they went through. Hey, let's route somebody with their last name A through L. Whoever came up with that, that's interesting. How about we go through M through Z? Let's go through all these different things. You want to have a program with all the data that's in there and be able to extract that data at a very simplistic way. And that's what's put into this program. So while you were talking about that, I was thinking about all the different ways that we had, and it was there before COVID. This was here already, but then when COVID came, we're able to do this and do all these different things. So right now, if I hit, say, let's just route everybody who's A through L, then it just changes all that information for me. So it's phenomenal. And the way Sam said, the way the program is set up, it reads very simply. Data on the left-hand side, maps on the right-hand side. Same thing for not only here, but also when we go into the program. You guys are mentioning something that was interesting. How do you learn a program? Well, you get trained, right? Well, what if you got trained internally with the program after you had your quote unquote official training? That's what that we have transmitting through all of the program, no matter where you are. So I'm into the routes. I want to know the introduction to the routes. How do I create a route? And this steps me through. It goes through the whole thing, step by step by step by step. I'll just close this out, go back to the students. Same thing. The guide me that you were talking about, Tim, is here. That's throughout the whole program. I call it the 24/7. If you want to work 24/7, have at it. And I've been in this industry for a long time. Some of you guys are working, but let's make it So when you're working, you're working at a pace that you want to work at, and you're getting things accomplished. So here's that information right here. When we go over to this area here, we have what's called a documentation. It's called a user's guide. Our user's guide is all the different documentations broken down, all students, schools, stops, routes. How do you do this? How do you do that? What a wonderful way to have a program talking back to you and showing you things all throughout there. And as Sam was mentioning, I was kind of chuckling when he was doing this. I usually do this. Here's our chat. I can go in here and I can just type in a message, and that message goes into our people who are on support, and they pick it up very, very quickly. So Sam, Tim, this program is something that was waiting for this time that we're going through, the COVID times, the other times, as you mentioned, Tim, the next 2 years are going to be really, really difficult. Well, EZRouting was made to go through these parts and to make it quote unquote easy, so people could do what they wanted to do. So Sam, you usually have some questions for me and you make me poke around. What do you got there, my friend?
Yeah, Bob, one of the things that we like to say is that we're true calendar based. And so when we talk about ease of use, using a calendar in order to do that, do you find that that's really the best way to do things?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you can go through here, I can tell it, I want to just go, so I'm changing. And notice how wonderful interactive the program is. So right now I'm doing every single day, but no, I'm going to change this. See how it says it knows? I change it here, it knows, change it here. Yeah, there's nothing like this.
So if you've got parents, you've got a student that's got to go to grandma's on Tuesday, or he's got a custody situation or anything like that, it's again, back just like the name, it's easy, right?
Absolutely. You just pop it in there and you end up doing it. And by the way, if you do what I just did and you make a mistake, it's going to yell at you. So hopefully people are used to having things talking back, because the program definitely will talk back to you.
Yeah, that's what I really like that about that from the very start, Bob, was just the ease of use, just how easy it is for me to get in here. And the other thing too is that I can create filters. Like I can create any filter that I want. It was so funny when we did our Christmas thing. We had the naughty list, right? We were gonna not deliver to the naughty houses, and you created a naughty filter. Is it still?
There they are.
They're naughty or nice.
Naughty or nice.
So if they're naughty, they don't get presents. If they're
Yep.
nice, they do. So you're able to create that filter.
I gotta say, that was one of the most exciting and fun things that we ever did. But yeah, naughty or nice, you can tell these are all the different filters, and we can have as many user-defined fields as we need in here. This program and was made for today, and it's made for the future. And this, what we're looking at, this was a change, because I asked our tech people, can you tell me, instead of just seeing where these schools are by looking at things, because before this didn't even exist right here, and I could click on it and it would tell me, oh yeah, they go to this school and these ones go to that school. I said, well, can you kind of make it a little bit better so I can see it? Within a few weeks, weeks, what am I talking about? A few days, we had this, show student by school. We had this nice template down there. So Sam, we're in an organization that knows what we're doing, and this organization is for what transportation has been going through and what transportation will be going through, and we make it as quote unquote easy as possible.
So it's easy to learn and it's easy to operate. It sounds to me like the hardest thing about breaking up is telling the old vendor that you've moved on to EZRouting. Am I right?
Yeah, it's probably not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's what we're working with taxpayer money. We're working with money that's for the school districts, and the school districts are supposed to be using it for the most efficient ways as possible. So why not have a program that's going to be able to do things? You segue into this, and I'll just show you one last thing in here. Anytime you need to import things, every single thing that you want to import, we can import. We click on this. Schools, stops, staff, vehicles, students, all of this information is going to be imported, and we can make whatever fields that you want. So we're talking about a program that's when you, as you're saying, Sam, 50 ways to leave your lover. Well, there's there's 50 ways that you might want to leave what you have already, but there's not going to be 50 ways that you're going to be scratching your head trying to figure out how to do this. It's very easy. We're there behind you. I'm super excited about where we are, and I can't wait to see what this year has for you, everybody that's watching this, and for me as well.
Well, I appreciate it, Bob. Tim, we sure appreciate you coming on and spending time with us. And everybody watching the video, thank you so much for taking the time. Bob, any final words?
No, all I can say is I also want to say thank you, Tim. I truly appreciate the knowledge that you have and what individuals that were listening to that. We're a company that can definitely back a lot of the things that you're seeing out there in the field. You know, we have the tools. We just want to get the people into here. But thank you so much for your time, Sam. It's great bringing you on board. And by the way, Sam and I have the same last name, but we are not related. Although he does call me Uncle Bob. So, but thank you so much. Truly appreciate the time. And Tim, thank you once again.
Absolutely. No, thank you to both of you guys. Certainly happy to do it. You know, as we've always said, right? I mean, the focus on driving energy towards the students and driving our ability to get kids to school and provide access to education as quickly as possible and as easily as possible. It's what we're here to do.
Excellent. Thank you.